This multi-billionaire just got hit with a bombshell lawsuit alleging that he sexually assaulted a woman inside Jeffrey Epstein's mega mansion. His name is Leon Black, the 71-year-old co-founder of Apollo Global Management, one of the largest private equity firms in the United States. The lawsuit was announced just hours ago, alleging that Leon had assaulted the victim, Sherry Pearson, after she was introduced to him by Epstein 20 years ago. According to filings, in 2002, Sherry was a cash-strapped single mother who had already given Epstein 5 massages for $300 each, and he had arranged a similar deal for Leon. Once Sherry and Leon met up, things took a turn and got pretty aggressive. As part of the lawsuit, Sherry is seeking an unspecified amount in damages, and she's being represented by the same firm that represented another individual who sued Leon back in 2001. Of course, Leon's legal team has responded, calling the claims categorically false.
I'm sure most of you know the name Leon Black by now, but if you don't, you're about to. He's all over the Epstein files, so I decided to look a little further into him, and I ran across a court document that was a complaint filed by the victim. I'm gonna read this to you because this man he's still just out like a lot of these men are, and from what I can tell, he's either paid his way or scared his way out of consequences for this. So I'm gonna read it for you and just be prepared. It is pretty graphic and it's disturbing stuff, so proceed with caution. And then also, I did find the same girl, at least I'm pretty sure it's the same girl. I found a trauma journal in the Epstein files by her that I'm going to read later for you, just so you can see how she was affected by all of this. This document's pretty long, so I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's about 19 pages, but I'm going to read the part that talks about her experience with Leon Black, and then I'll probably go back at some point and make a video of the whole thing. But this is just the part about Leon Black right now. Okay. In or around late spring of 2002 or early summer, Elizabeth told plaintiff that she was being shipped off to New York City. She said that Charlie would be driving her to meet Epstein's special friend, a man named Leon Black. Elizabeth emphasized that Leon Black was a very free and his important special friend. Charlie drove plaintiff to Epstein's New York City townhouse. There she was summoned to Epstein. She found him standing with a huge older man. Black is 6'4" and about 300 pounds. The two men appeared to be having a conversation. Epstein introduced plaintiff to Leon Black using his full name and told her that Black was important and special to Epstein. Plaintiff was struck by Black's immense size. Plaintiff's initial impression of Black was that he looked like an ogre and she felt frightened. Plaintiff noticed Black's bulbous nose and that his face and neck had a number of skin tags and moles. Epstein told plaintiff that because she was his special girl, he had selected her specifically to give his special friend, Black, a massage. Epstein told plaintiff that she was to give Black the same kind of massage treatment that she gives Epstein, meaning that it would involve sexual intercourse and she was expected to strip naked. Black took plaintiff by her hand, squeezing it so hard that she thought she might have broken bones, and led her upstairs to a massage room on the 3rd floor of the townhouse. She had been in the room with Epstein on her prior stay at the townhouse. In the room, there were a variety of oils and adult sex toys next to the massage table. Plaintiff assumed that Black would proceed to disrobe before laying down on the massage table, the way Epstein usually did. Instead, Black picked plaintiff up and threw her over his shoulder, and then threw her violently down on the massage table on her back, so hard he knocked the wind out of plaintiff. She thought the massage table might have broken. She tried to scream, but Black placed his hand over her mouth and leaned over her while ripping off her shirt and under her skirt, pulling her underwear off. Plaintiff was crying and terrified. Black asked her repeatedly what made her Jeffrey's special girl, and throughout the assault called her demeaning, shameful, disgusting names. Plaintiff was in a complete state of shock because this was nothing like the massages she had been taught to give Epstein. She tried to move off the table, but Black had her pinned down, and throughout the assault called her demeaning, shameful, disgusting names. Plaintiff was in a complete state of shock because this was nothing like the massages she had been taught to give Epstein. She tried to move off the table, but Black had her pinned down. Black laughed at Plaintiff's futile attempts to escape his grasp, and he asked her if she considered herself feisty and mocked her by claiming that he wanted Plaintiff to show him why Epstein referred to her as his special girl. Plaintiff could not see, but rather heard Black rummaging among the adult toys nearby, and he roughly snapped her legs apart, causing Plaintiff to feel as if her pelvic bone had been broken. Using the adult toys, Black then penetrated Plaintiff simultaneously in both her vagina and rectum, using such force that Plaintiff felt tearing in her internal tissue. When Plaintiff screamed out in agony, Black again covered her mouth with one of his hands. Plaintiff was crying still when Black placed his mouth on her vaginal area. At this point, Plaintiff realized that struggling would be useless given how much stronger and physically more massive Black was, and instead pleaded with Black to stop as she sobbed. She felt a sharp pain in her vagina, like a hard pinch. She let out a scream. At the scream, Black lifted his head out from under her skirt, and she saw blood on his mouth, and she panicked and kicked him with her right leg. Her kick landed on his chest, and while it likely did not hurt him, he was enraged that she struck out at him, and he began viciously cursing her. He called her a whore and a slut and picked Plaintiff up off the massage table and threw her on the floor. Once on the floor, Plaintiff attempted to scramble towards the door, but Black instead grabbed her legs, pulled Plaintiff towards him, and she saw blood on the floor, which likely was from her rectum. Black got on top of her. Plaintiff went into shock and began to dissociate, trying to convince herself that she was somewhere else, but the unimaginable pain she experienced prevented her from even this temporary respite. He continued to violently thrust himself on her with such force that she felt he was crushing her pelvic and hip bones. Despite violently thrusting over her with this extreme weight, Black kept telling Plaintiff to stay still. She felt like she could not breathe. When Black appeared to be finished, he grabbed Plaintiff up by her wrists and slammed her into the wall and watched as she slid down into a sitting position, still crying in fear and pain. After what seemed like a prevented her from even this temporary respite, he continued to violently thrust himself on her with such force that she felt he was crushing her pelvic and hip bones. Despite violently thrusting over her with this extreme weight, Black kept telling Plaintiff to stay still. She felt like she could not breathe. When Black appeared to be finished, he grabbed Plaintiff up by her wrists and slammed her into the wall and watched as she slid down into a sitting position, still crying in fear and pain. After what seemed like a long time to Plaintiff, Epstein came in and found her still against the wall and crying. Plaintiff begged Epstein to take her to a doctor because she was in physical agony and was continuing to bleed, but he refused, instead telling her that Maxwell would take care of her. Epstein summarily handed her towels to clean herself up. He then took her down to the second floor of the townhouse and told her to wait in a chair. Epstein grew increasingly frustrated as Plaintiff continued to cry. He demanded that she pull herself together as he was expecting a visitor. Shortly thereafter, a thin, middle-aged blonde woman arrived at the townhouse and had folders in her hands, which she gave to Epstein. Upon information and belief, this woman was Leslie Groff, Epstein's long-term New York-based assistant. Although Epstein trafficked plaintiff to other men, both before and after Black, she was never again taken to New York City. The violent and sadistic nature of Black's rape left an indelible mark on her both physically and psychologically. Plaintiff suffered internal abrasions on her rectum that continue to cause her pain. To this day, plaintiff often is triggered each month at the beginning of her menstrual cycle as the sight of blood from her body causes plaintiff to suffer from panic attacks, reliving the attack that she endured at Black's hands. Although Epstein and Maxwell did not take plaintiff to the doctor that day, she was taken to the airport where she went back to Elizabeth's with a thick envelope that she was not allowed to open and required to hand over to Elizabeth.
Stuck it into a 7 to 8-year-old child. The same Leon Black that funds an endowed professorship in pediatrics at Mount Sinai. Here he is in the Epstein files for the alleged rape. Black bites parts of her vagina. Violence was aroused. He's also this Black, the same one that was found to have given at least $170 million in payments to Jeffrey Epstein. Also affiliated with the Mount Sinai Board of Trustees, where one of the hospital's core values is safety. We protect our... Do they? You can go look for yourself on their social.